Hello everybody, welcome back. Today I'm going to be using the Avery Elle stamp set Dear Santa, which is an older set that I haven't had a chance to play with. I'm also using the Echo Park Merry and Bright paper pad, which is new out this year. So I've gone ahead and done some stamping. I had to mask the little Santa hat before I stamped the cat image. So I thought I would just go ahead and do my Distress Oxide background before I started with the coloring. So I'm using Tattered Rose and I'm using my makeup brush here. Well, it's a makeup brush that I use for crafting. It is very similar to the Picket Fence Studios life-changing brushes. You've seen me use this a couple times now in my holiday card series. I'm really enjoying the soft look that it gives, and I thought it went perfect for this adorable little card that I'm going to be making. So I was inspired by the paper that I'm going to use for my colors. So I'm using a very gorgeous poinsettia paper, and there's some dark greens, dark reds, and a pink in that paper. So I'm going to use the pink as the background, and then I'm going to do the bow and the Santa hat in red to match the paper. But first I'm going to color my little kitty up as a black cat. She kind of turns out a little bit more gray. I do go over this a couple times. I was hesitant to use anything darker than a C5 just because of the shape of this cat. I wasn't sure that I could pull off the shading good enough, so I decided to do more of a light black, and you can decide if I achieve that or if it's more of a gray kitty. So I'm using C5, C3, and the C1 very sparingly. I did go over the entire image with, I think I did. Well, I did my shading with the C1 first, and then I went in with the darkest, the C5, and blended that out with the mid-tone, which I'm using as the C3. I do go over this a few times, and I do the tip-to-tip technique just to try to get a really smooth blend. I find black is the hardest color to color. I feel like there needs to be a Copic class out there just on coloring black images, whether it be critters or inanimate objects such as shoes. It would be great to just figure out how to do it well. So I'm just really trying my best here. I didn't want the image to be too dark because I didn't want to lose her delicate features. And I'm pretty happy with the way she ended up turning out. I absolutely adore this stamp. Like I said, this is an older stamp from Avery Elle, but it's one that I never got a chance to use, so I thought I would bring it out for this holiday series. Some of you may have it in your stash as well and have yet to use it. So now's a good chance to get it out. I love how she's got this look on her face like she is a little princess, but I feel like deep down inside she's a little naughty, and that's why I chose the sentiment define naughty. And I absolutely love the font that these sentiments are in for this stamp set as well. You'll see that here in a little bit once I get the coloring finished and I move on to the sentiment. So as you can see, I spent quite a bit of time on this little cat image. I did end up at the end here, this is the last coat, and I went over the entire image with the C3. It still keeps the shading because you have the shading underneath it, but I wanted to just ensure a really smooth blend there. So now I'm moving on to the bow and her little Santa hat. So I'm using R59, R39, and R29. This deep dark red matches the paper perfectly. So I'm just doing the darker shading here. I'm using darkest to lightest for these two images. I'm going to leave her little bell white as well as the bottom of her hat and the little pom-pom on the top white, I'm going to come in and use some Nouveau drops, the glitter Mountain Dew, I believe it is. I think so. I have it right here. Let me double check. White Blizzard, not Mountain Dew. Mountain Dew is the clear liquid Nouveau drop. So I'm just going to add a little bit of shading to those images, just so that if you see, if you can see under the glitter drops, then you will see some shading. And in fact, you can. I'm just looking at the card now as it's dried. So I'm going to work on this sentiment. I am going to be heat embossing it, so I just used my embossing buddy to make sure nothing sticks, especially to that Distress Oxide ink, seeing it stays wet for a little while. So I'm butting the sentiment right up to the image. I wasn't quite sure at this point if I was going to use a square die or an oval die to cut this out. In the end, I decided to do the oval because I'm kind of stuck on ovals this year. So I'm just heat embossing this with some clear embossing powder. And it just takes a second and the magic is done. And now I'm going to use my MFT stitched oval die here to cut out this panel. I've already gone ahead and cut out the piece of paper with my MFT scalloped rectangle die, and I'm just going to put this on a white card base because there is quite a bit of white in the card. So I'm going to adhere this down with some liquid adhesive. I really love this paper. I think it's so elegant and pretty, and the pop of pink I think just adds elegance to it. I don't know what other descriptive word to use, but I think it's really pretty, and I love the way the red in her bow and her hat pick up on the paper. So here's where I'm going in with the White Blizzard Nouveau drops, and I'm just going to add that on so it's nice and puffy. And to finish off, I'm going to bring in my white gel pen. First I'm going to use the black gel pen just on her nose. And I'm going to add some highlighting on her hat and on the bow in a few places. I'm also going to do a line down her back. And right here I'm just drawing a little bit of a tie to her bow from the bell. When I stamped it out, I didn't quite get it up all the way. So there's the card for today. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for joining me today. Take care, everybody. Bye.